Today I'm here with Ron Tyler. My name is David Carson, and I'm doing an interview, impromptu interview somewhat. You know, we had discussion on Facebook, and it was Ron's idea to come out here to have an interview with me. We'll just meet, and you bring your camera. So I'm like, okay, let's do that. You know, I couldn't turn that down if I wanted to.
That's right. Coffee, cameras, and Carson. Is that what we call it?
No, I think your idea was coffee with Carson or something.
Something like that, right?
Some people like that. We'll see where it goes from here, you know. But if so, this is the first one of coffee with Carson. If that's what it turns into, I have not discussed any of these questions with Ron beforehand. This is going to be uncut, unedited. I'm not going to cut any of the interview, unlike local newspapers and stuff like that. I'm not just going to use a sound bite. For better or worse, you guys are going to see the whole thing. So
we look good.
Yeah, we look good. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so I guess I'll start the first part of the interview with just some general questions about you in reference to being a candidate for mayor. First question I want to ask you is, what would you describe the difference between you and our current mayor, Andy Betterton?
Well, that's a great question. Because I've told people that if they are satisfied with how things are right now, then I'm not your person. I'd vote for somebody else if you're satisfied with how things are, because he and I are going to be different. Let me start out and say this. Yeah, I think a lot of Andy Betterton. Okay, but there's a reason that I'm running for mayor. If I thought Andy was doing the best job possible, I wouldn't be opposing him in the mayor's race. I'd be supporting him, right? So obviously, to start out, I think I can do the job better than he is. He's a very friendly man. He's widely known in this area. Andy is, he's like your favorite uncle. He's just.
Could you hold that thought?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yep. No, you're all good.
Sorry about that. A little OCD. I want to make sure it was recording.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, you're good. So
continue.
People think a lot of Andy, and I do as well. I consider him a personal friend. However, when I look at him, I think his friendliness, while it works to his advantage and he does so good with it, I think his friendliness also reveals some of his. It impacts his ability to lead as a mayor. Okay, and obviously, friendliness is a characteristic you want in a mayor, but it's not the primary characteristic that you want in it. So I think the primary characteristic, there's many, but the main one would be decisiveness. And sometimes when you gather information from outside sources, inside sources, wherever you want to gather it from, when you're trying to make an informed decision, when you make those decisions, you're going to make people angry, and there's going to be people who don't like it. We're going to talk about something here shortly that you don't like about what I did, and I think that's impacted his ability to lead as mayor. It's hard for him, as friendly as it is, to make unpopular decisions that are going to make people mad. So what I am going to do different, number one, I'm going to provide the leadership that we need, not looking back. Not chasing down old things. We're looking ahead, trying to move Florence forward. There's going to be a lot of issues people are unhappy with in this current administration that are just completely out of my control in the administration's past. What is in my control is what we're going to do in the future moving forward. I want to provide that leadership, make the hard decisions that need to be made. And I'm not going to give you a bunch of political answers. I don't want to do that. But I have heard people say the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I think people can look at what I did as chief of police for 12 years, my time there serving for 29 years, and I think that they can look at that and see the kind of leadership that I'd provide at the higher level of being mayor.
We don't have unlimited time here, but could you give more of a specific example of somewhere where you and Andy Betterton disagree?
Disagree. I think we agree. How would I be different?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make the hard decisions. I'm going to make the hard decisions that I don't feel like he's been able to make. I'm going to provide the vision for the city of Florence moving forward that I don't think that Andy has provided. When I think about this, the conversations, if I was to sit in and be a fly on the wall and I say this, and he's going to listen, and he's a friend of mine, and that's, I think, a lot of him. But if I listen to the conversations that he has in a given day and the things that are priority for him are not going to be a priority for me. Let's compare him real quick to Tommy Battle in Huntsville. All right. Okay. So Andy Betterton likes to go down and he likes to greet the people who come off the boat down at McFarland Park, and that's a great thing. He likes to flip pancakes for Kiwanis Day, and that's a great thing. And he likes to say welcomes at parades, and he loves to do all those things, and that's a great thing. That's what's so nice about him, people like that. However, the mayor of the city is the CEO of a 900-employee organization. You have tough decisions to make. The mayor of this city has this year will probably be an $85 million general fund, be my guess. Utilities combined is probably double that. You could be looking at almost $250 million budget that this individual is supposed to be managing. And you have to compare the difference. Is it important to be friendly to everybody, or do you have to make very difficult decisions when you're managing a budget that's large, making hard decisions, making personnel decisions, and trying to figure out how we lead this city in a different direction? Tommy Battle, I guarantee you, he's sitting there talking about to prospective industry, which is what I would want to do. He is working on infrastructure issues, which is what I want to do. He is trying to recruit business and industry, and he's working with federal and state partners on a regular basis. That's what I want to do. I'm going to do more of running the business side of the city and then let all the other stuff be secondary rather than letting let's do the PR side of being the mayor as primary for him. I think that's more of a secondary issue. It's something he's prioritized, not something I'm going to put as much priority on. I'm going to prioritize being the mayor and running a 900-employee organization with almost $250 million budget.
Would you mind if I try to summarize what you just said?
You go right ahead.
All right. So basically, you were saying that Andy Betterton, that you say friendliness. Some people say agreeableness.
I don't disagree with that. Sure.
Yeah. So you're saying that
I would be agreeable to that.
Yeah. So that you differentiate yourself from Betterton because you perhaps are not as agreeable as Betterton, which you feel, and personally I kind of feel as well, is not exactly a super strong suit in a mayor, so to speak. And that also that you seem to, like, you want to be more focused on the business side of a city, I guess the nuts and bolts of running the city in the future, the city, so to speak.
Well, we're not a business, right? The government side, I'm sure.
And that perhaps Betterton is more focused on maybe more superficial publicity type stuff.
You used the word superficial, I didn't, but he does a lot of the PR stuff, and he likes to be the front guy for the city, and I understand that. I just think that's secondary.
I'm trying not to exert too much of my opinion here, but I think that someone could derive that from what you just said. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Right now, the only other person that's declared themselves a candidate is Griffin. So Andy isn't even declared yet.
He may or may not. I have not heard.
So, of course, I'm going to have to ask, what do you think the difference between you and Griffin would be as far as mayors?
Well, and again, I'll go back. I think you live in his district, don't you? I won't tell you that. Okay,
yeah.
It's parts of town. So, again, he's in a position right now as a council member to affect change at a greater degree. Mm-hmm. I think you can go back and look at his time as a council member. What change has he managed to affect? I can go back to my time as a chief of police and how I managed. Our combined, it was $120 million budget over the course of 10 years. I was there for 12 years. Pardon me. I was chief for 12 years. We averaged more than $10 million in our budget. So I have managed more than $120 million combined as the 12 years I was chief. We had 150 employees when I left. So I've had to make difficult budget decisions. I've had to make difficult personnel decisions. There's not a single person who's had to lead through the crisis that we had I say the word opportunity. Mm-hmm. We're forced into leading people through. 10 times we had police officers fire their weapon in the line of duty. That's a crisis situation that we encounter, and it's a big deal when that happens. And you have an organization that is kind of thrown into just a sense of stress during that time. And I've had to lead an organization through some of that stress and through some of that change. We're going to talk about the protest. That's a national. That was a law enforcement changed as a result of Michael Brown and George Floyd. I mean, it exerted a lot of pressure.
We'll get more into that later. I don't mean to.
Well, no. And just my point is I had to lead an organization through that. And I had to develop a team to be able to do that. And that's what I think the difference is going to be. I think Bill is in the same boat that Andy is. I think those two are very similar. I think they're very agreeable. I think they like the PR side of things. Yeah. And while the mayor has to do that, okay?
Yeah. Like that the popular guy at the party, right?
Well, I mean, it's just you show up. But that's secondary to we've got a city to run. We've got to provide. We want to provide, have a prepared workforce for jobs to come in. We want to provide infrastructure that would make, that people want their streets paved. People want power when the storms come. We want high-speed internet here. We want to lay the infrastructure out. And I think there's things of being a mayor that are going to be secondary, not primary to them. And I think that's where we're going to be different.
To summarize, see if I can summarize this. I think you saying your main difference between you and Griffin is that you have more experience running bigger organizations and pushing for results perhaps than him.
Yeah, and you summarize that in your. I think he is going to focus again on he's going to focus a lot on what Andy has done and what he thinks the mayor is. Whereas I'm going to focus on running the city and promoting the city.
You align Griffin and Betterton as similar styles.
Very, very much so.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Very much so.
That's interesting to think about here. All right, let's see how we're doing on time. Got you.
No, you don't worry about that. When we get to 1 o'clock, we'll worry about it. But until then, we're good.
Cool. We can always revisit some of this stuff if it looks like we have time. I just want to make sure we have time for all this stuff. Something that I'm very concerned with, and other people are as well, I'm going to have to ask you, as running for mayor, is if you pay attention to all of what I've been saying in the council and stuff, I'm very focused on transparency and censorship and stuff. I've been pushing for an online calendar of committee meetings. It seems like right now, it's really hard to find out about various committee meetings and commission meetings and stuff. Due to the Open Meetings Act, by law, cities needs to post the stuff on a bulletin board, ahead of time. Our bulletin board is like a little tack bulletin board.
It's a literal bulletin board.
Yeah, that you tack stuff off, hitting off in the corner in the city clerk's office. I think it would be the easiest thing in the world to make an online calendar of all the committee meetings and stuff and times, because I feel like for things to really change, it's going to require. Sorry to interrupt.
No. You go ahead. You go ahead.
It's for increased public participation is going to be necessary for any meaningful change, I think.
Right.
And would you be open? Would you be open to changing the way we do that? Would you advocate for an online calendar and be more transparent about the meeting times and places?
Yeah, let me jump ahead and answer the question. Okay. I think is coming in follow up. So again, I use analogies a lot, and I told you that before we got started. Some people want to see how the sausage is made, and some people just want good sausage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as a mayor, I'm responsible for both of those. Mm-hmm. Primarily, we want to put out good sausage, all right?
Yeah.
But there are people who want to watch the sausage made. Not everybody cares about when the public safety committee meeting is going on, or is it very simple to put an online calendar? Absolutely, it is. This is 2024. The election is going to be in 2025.
Yeah.
All right. So when that, we're still doing things that was done in the 1970s of putting stuff on a literal bulletin board, which is the minimum the law requires.
Yeah.
But to answer your question very directly, absolutely. it's very simple to post a city calendar and go in there and have somebody populate that on Wednesday at 2:00 there is a public safety committee meeting, and this is open to the public. Of course.
Do you mind if I respond a little bit to your? I like your little metaphor there with how the sausage is made in good sausage. I get that, and that's a balance I kind of push. Some people might think I just start crap just for the there's a method to my madness. I feel like it's a very bare minimum for like actual when there's a quorum, especially if there's a quorum of committee members that show up and actually discuss the stuff. As far as being, that's when the sausage is
being made,
being presented.
Right.
Basically,
Okay.
it's already
Okay.
made. It's already
All right.
being presented. I can understand like government, like I'm not trying to get FOIA requests on all the communications between the mayor and all these people and all this stuff like
Sure.
that could cause people, that could affect the quality of the sausage, so to speak. It depends on this, the situation, I guess. I mean, if the situation really seems like there's something funny going on, might push for that. But like, I think it's a bare minimum, just the official meeting times, because these committee members and council members talk outside of these meetings.
Right.
You
Okay.
can
Sure.
design
Yeah,
all
no,
the sausage as much as you want as far as that's concerned. But as far as like paying attention to what's coming down the pipe, what's being voted on for citizens, that's sort of where I'm at with that.
So, yeah, and I see that you are suspicious that there's a lot of stuff that goes on before those committee meetings, and I understand that, and I'm not going to say you're completely wrong. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that doesn't always happen. A lot of those committee meetings, in my experience, were these are needs we have, and we did present them for the first time.
I was talking
No,
about
I'm talking
before.
about for the first time.
Yeah.
Presented those to the council of, hey, this is going on. So listen, and I'll say this as someone who's going to be the mayor. There's restrictions for council members outside of that official voting. They are just like any other citizen, okay? They shouldn't be having full access to department heads because that's just a individual citizen having contact with that department head there. All right? I mean, they go through some training once they're elected that says this is the role of the council.
You have to use official like email accounts and stuff like that.
But they're not supposed to be having all that direct contact. That's the mayor's responsibility is to oversee his department heads.
Yeah.
And then it's the mayor's responsibility to communicate those issues to the council members.
Okay.
What happens, all right, and is what's happening now is when you have a mayor who's not doing what he's supposed to be doing because he's agreeable and likes to do all the other stuff, is in order for council members to get information that they want or maybe that they need, they have no choice but to take back channels and go directly to a department head.
Yeah.
Right? That won't be the case if I'm elected. I'll be the mayor providing the council everything that they need. It's not their job or responsibility to go directly to department heads.
So they can focus more on the decision making than actually trying to get the information.
They oversee the budget and some of those other designated council policy decisions, but the day-to-day stuff, the mayor ought to be dealing with the department heads on, and then when the council needs information, they get that from the mayor. They don't go directly to the council or to the department head. So I mean so let me go ahead and talk about this. I know that you are aggravated at the comments on Facebook. I knew that was going to be the next thing. Listen, and I can tell you this very easily. If Facebook is the media, we are going to choose to live stream a council session, then it to me it's implied that you would allow the comments to occur. Okay? It's very easy for him to stand up in his comments if he felt the need to tell everybody, if you don't want to see these comments, swipe left or right or whatever it is. That very easily could happen.
I think that was a BS excuse.
So I don't think Facebook is a great video source. I don't think it catalogs very well. I think there's Vimeo, there's YouTube, there's other things that catalog a whole lot better that will allow some comments and other things. It's not live.
You could set it up on your own city server as well.
You could do other things that catalogs it for people to go back and want to look at.
Facebook deletes older videos and stuff.
But if you're going to choose to use Facebook, you give the full capacity of Facebook.
YouTube would be a better, because they don't delete.
I think YouTube would be great, and and they specialize in video, and they would catalog it, and it'd be you could go back and search different things.
And it would not be hard to do. So I would assume if you got elected, you would move things more towards that direction?
It's. I don't think Facebook is the best one. I can't tell you it'd be YouTube or Vimeo or if it'd be an internal thing. I don't have, but I don't think it's
You'd be
Facebook.
open to it? 'Cause
Absolutely.
right now the current
Absolutely.
mayor's not open.
Yeah, absolutely.
He don't want comments. I'm going to leave my opinion out. I think he just can't handle the comments, so shouldn't be in politics
Part
probably.
of it. That's exactly. Well, I learned the hard way as being chief. If you didn't like the negative comments, then don't ask to be chief because that just comes with it. I mean, that's
public
part of
life might not be for you.
it. That's right. You're exactly right.
All right, so let's see here. Some people ask, and I'm kind of curious myself, the issue with this proposed new city hall.
Right.
I'll also ask a few questions. You can answer it however you want. Like, first of all, what's wrong with the existing one? Should we have a new one? If we do need a new one, what location does it need to be at? Or if we don't need a new one, but do you think a renovation would be better? Be okay?
Those are good questions, and you're asking about sausage that has been made up to now that as chief of police I did not have access to. Okay, so do I think City Hall has outlived its lifespan? I do. Everything I'm hearing is from back channels. It's third or fourth hand. Okay, I've not sat in on those meetings. Do I think it's going to cost more to renovate that building than it would be? I don't know if the cost would be the same, but you think about disruption to city services. Where would you move those employees to be able to go through and renovate it? How do you do that? So it's saying that we need a new city hall. Here again, I'd be agreeable that I agree with that. I think a new city hall is necessary. So now it's the location, it's the cost. What does that look like? I think all of those decisions will be made long before I have a chance to get there. I don't know.
I apologize for that then.
No, I think that's going to come up for a vote very soon, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So here's the information I don't have, so this is hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
I don't know what alternatives were looked at. I don't know the ongoing conversations with the architect about, are we going to be able to be within budget? Is it going to cost us more? I haven't had any of those conversations. I was just not a part of that committee. I have not been a part of the committee that talked about, why can't we renovate? What would it cost? Here again, I think that's information that would be relevant when you are gathering facts and information to be able to make an informed decision. I hope that information is provided to the council so they make an informed decision and they've considered, are there alternate locations? Is this the place for it? I would be agreeable that downtown would be a great place for it. Would it be at the, is that worth an extra $10 million or whatever? I'd want to look and see what the other options were, but I think that's going to come up for a vote. I think people will have a chance to, the council will have a chance to vote on that, and I think that will be a decision that happens long before the August of 2025 mayoral election. I think that'll be water under the bridge at that point.
What's your opinion on how the old new parking deck situation went down?
Well, it's again, boy, you're asking me about stuff the chief of police didn't have anything on. There's a 2017 report on that parking deck. What was the year that the building in Florida collapsed? Do you remember that? I think it was around the same time. There's a big concrete hotel or whatever collapsed there.
I don't have the information on that.
I don't either, but I think sometime around that period they came and did a study for the structure of the parking deck.
Yeah.
Obviously, that led to them closing the upper floors. So here's my thing is, if the parking deck is safe to park in, that you leave it open. If it's not safe to park in anywhere, I'd be concerned about leaving it open at all. Is it safe or is it not? Is it just the top floor that's safe? And why is the top floor not safe and the rest of them are? I'd have those questions. I'm sure people have asked and answered that. Right? So I'm on the outside looking in.
You don't have enough information to confidently answer something. Just see we can move on.
I don't. Yeah, and I'll be quick here. But I want you to understand how I would go about gathering information. I think that you ask those questions, you have people come in and tell you this is how much it would be to renovate that. Is renovation of the parking deck possible? I'd want to.
Do you think all that was done?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I have no idea. But that's, and it may have.
Yeah.
But is that not information when you're about to spend this kind of money?
A lot of money.
Is that information that would be reasonable to pass on to people of, we've brought in outside subject matter experts. They've done a full comprehensive assessment. They've made a recommendation. here's what it is, and we're going to act on that recommendation. I mean, I think that's the way that I would lead. There's a whole lot of things I don't know, David. I'm not a smart person, but I know how to find smart people. And there are smart people on structural integrity, and there's smart people on public safety, and there's smart people who can, talk about hospital. You bring in the subject matter expert who can talk about that and let them make a recommendation, and you act on that. So I think that's important to do, and that's how you make decisions.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna bring up UNA.
Let's do it.
All right. Seems yearly. I'm sure this is probably not the only bit, but I mean, at least 500,000's been given to UNA like every year. It seems. It's the people that are voting on this, council members. 2 of them actually work for UNA. I've brought this up, and they said that they passed the ethical board. I think it's common sense that would be a conflict of interest.
Have they voted every time? I thought there were times that they
sometimes. At first,
abstained.
I think Katrina abstained once or something like that, but I think after they got the letter, that they just vote yes every time on that and just ignore my complaints. But I'm gonna tie all this together.
Sure.
It seems we have, besides those 2 council members, a really strong connection between UNA and our leadership. Which it's a big institution here. I get that, but like it's not the whole town. And I'm like, what do we get when we give them all this money? They give studies about economic impact and stuff like that, but I don't necessarily trust a lot of that stuff. Any business that starts is going to have a positive economic impact. We don't throw, all this money at other businesses and stuff. So, and UNA was listed as recently listed as one of the most, the 14th most liberal college. I don't know if you saw that.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's the 14th most liberal college in the country. So I'm not sure how outside.
Who listed it at that? I didn't see it.
I'll send you the story later.
Okay.
But it is a pretty liberal college. So I mean, I'm not sure how well connected UNA is culturally to this area. It's a lot of foreigners coming in and stuff. I'm not trying to be super xenophobic. I'm just saying. It seems like from my perspective and other people's perspective, it seems a lot of our leadership are super connected to UNA, like alumni and like actually work there and stuff, and it's throwing them all this money and stuff. And the rest of the people, there's a lot of people in the city that really, for me personally, I don't care if that college is there or not.
Wow.
Let me try to find a question here.
No, yeah, I mean, I can make comments on it if you don't mind.
Make a few comments.
Sure.
Maybe about the people working there, like the council people working there and voting on that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I'd have to go back and read.
Yeah.
Working there and reading, I'd have to go back and look. I think if it does not impact them directly financially, I think that's so. It's so. Let me say this: Barry Morris used to be a council member here, and Barry I think he's an economics professor up at UNA, and he was a council member. He's very conservative, conservative with the budget. Barry used to make the statement that if every dollar that passed through UNA was painted purple on one side, okay, every dollar that went through there was painted purple on one side. When you reached into your wallet after that money had circulated around, that every single dollar from your wallet would have that purple paint on it. All right. So he's the guy who said that they impacted everything. So here's where I stand with UNA.
We could do the same thing with Walmart. I mean,
yeah, probably not to the same level. I think UNA and the hospital, city schools, and city government are probably the larger employers here.
Yeah.
But here's where I'm at with UNA. Okay. People scream about white-collar jobs here in the Shoals. Have you heard that conversation much? I have. I've heard a lot about that. So if we want to prepare that workforce, and I can give you a specific example, if we want to prepare a workforce to recruit high-end jobs, white-collar jobs, information technology jobs, AI is going to be the next big thing there. If we want to educate people on that and have those kinds of jobs here, who's going to educate that workforce? Are they going to come out of the high schools? Are they going to come out of the district? We're going to rely on UNA to prepare the workforce if we are interested in information technology and some of those high-end jobs. So to the extent that UNA prepares our workforce, they're not the only ones, but to the extent that they prepare our workforce, we need them in this city. I mean, I want them putting out engineers in the new engineering department. I want them putting out new information technology majors, and that's a broad topic, but they're computer programmers or the work from home people who make really good income. They can work from home. Those jobs require little infrastructure. All right? If somebody's working from home and they're a computer programmer, you don't have to build roads, you don't have to add utilities, you don't have to run water and sewer. They infill here, they have good education, and they have information technology jobs, computer programming jobs. Who's going to educate them? It's going to be UNA. So there's a plant, and I'll be real quick because I know you got a lot of questions.
No, I'm just checking my cameras. Just because I'm not looking at you all the time.
No worries.
I'm balancing a lot of stuff, you know.
There's a plant in Industrial Park that makes high-end, like, or the knee replacements and shoulder replacement. They make the titanium parts for that, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a plant here in Florence that makes those things. All right, so they need the engineers to help design those things that are very high-paying jobs. They need the computer programmers, all of those people to help keep that company going. But when I talk to that business owner, he says, you know what I need more than anything? I need an HVAC guy, because we run so many computers. I need good HVAC people who are able to keep the air conditioner on in my building. Otherwise, we can't function. So when I think of workforce development, UNA's critically important for us if we are interested in getting some of those white-collar, higher-paying information technology jobs. That's why I am a UNA fan, because of the workforce they produce. But they're not the only ones here. We still need Northwest Shoals, and we still need
for the HVAC.
For the HVAC guys. It's going to take this entire approach. You got to have, the most high-tech facility has a carpenter who builds it, right? They have a guy who pours a concrete slab. They have the plumber who runs all that stuff. We got to have all of it.
Okay. Well, I'm not.
That's why I'm a fan of UNA. Okay.
How much money should we give them?
Well, I think yeah, sure. I think it's all proportional. And you look at what they're doing. I support the engineering building, the money we gave? Absolutely to that.
Okay, all right.
To have a university that's growing like that. I graduated from UNA. Let me just be completely honest with you there. To have a growing university, and I think they are. Some people have said they're the fastest growing in the state. You've got to create that college environment there.
Yeah.
So I think the stadium is part of that. Am I a big proponent of the stadium itself? I'm a big proponent of we've got to have the workforce, and UNA is going to be the one who provides it. You know where our workforce is going right now? They live in the Shoals, and they're driving over to Huntsville to get a job over there. We want industry located here, and we want UNA helping educate those people, and we want to bring them in. So to me, that's the real conversation. It's not necessarily the $500,000 to the stadium.
Yeah.
It's I want UNA here because I want industry to locate here, so we can have the high-end jobs that also require the tradesmen to come in and everything else. I want to take a 30,000-foot view. I don't want to get down to, I'm just looking at the money that we're giving to a stadium. I want to see the big picture here. So that's what I'm trying to look at. I don't know if that answers your question exactly.
Well, I didn't really ask a clear question. I apologize for that. It's a complicated issue that I really probably haven't done enough homework at.
You just said it. The role of a mayor, all right? I'm going to go back to your very first question, is to solve complex, complicated issues, all right? And try to make hard decisions, and not everybody agrees when you do that. Do I think that's happening now? No, that's why I want to run for mayor. So I want to take these difficult, complex, complicated issues that people disagree about, and I want us to address those in a way that is responsible, is practical, and sets us up for the future as the city of Florence.
Me personally, I don't really agree with you on the UNA on some things, but this is not about me. This is more about you. To be continued on that. Like that would be for me to mention any more about it would just drag the whole thing.
Stephen Covey, when I was 20 years old, my first boss made me read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It made me write a paper on it. I don't know if you've read that. One of the things he says is it's okay to agree to disagree. And there's times that you and I are going to
sometimes I'll do that, sometimes I won't.
Right. So there's non-negotiables for you. Huh?
So I guess just to kind of close that off, they're altering Pine Street for the stadium and stuff like that. Have you been paying attention to all that?
I want to alter Pine Street because it's a safety hazard. As a chief of police,
Yeah.
I'm worried about the students crossing.
Yeah.
The students who are walking back to Cypress Mill Road, they're riding bikes there.
Yeah.
You can't see up over the hill.
It's pretty dangerous.
So my concern is, boy, that's dangerous, just like Veterans Drive is. And I would like to see some alterations to it, to put sidewalks in for the students who can go back and forth from their apartment to the school, can cross Pine Street. The engineering building is now over on the west side. You have more development going from UNA on the west side. There's going to be a lot more students crossing Pine Street. I think it's a safety issue. So yeah, I want to see some of the alterations happen on Pine Street for that reason. Is there secondary reasons about the stadium and so forth? There may be, but I think it's a safety issue. And
Mainly safety for you.
It is,
Okay.
absolutely.
All
it
right.
is.
All right. Well, let's see here. What we're doing on time. I'm going to talk. You can do what you want to with this, but I have to bring this up.
Sure.
The director of our art and museums department is Brian Murphy. He was promoted.
One of your friends, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I say that tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I know. I'm not the only person that's, that's not super crazy about this guy. I'm going to give a little bit of my opinion. You can do what you want,
Sure.
and I'll get to the point. He was recently promoted to be director of the Arts Museum Department, but he's also a BLM activist him and Camille pretty much spearheaded all that statue stuff, the BLM stuff
From
back in
2020.
20.
Right.
He's from New York. He doesn't like our history, and he's in charge of our arts, basically our culture here, our culture department. I think it would be safe to say. Obviously, Betterton, I think he was the one in charge of putting him as the department head.
Right.
But some would say that was another person behind that, that kind of pushed that to happen. This is questions for me and my people, really. Like, would you consider hiring someone else for that job?
I mean, walking in and just firing somebody outright.
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing that. Here's what I'm going to do with the department heads.
All
Right.
right.
So you're talking about things that have occurred in the past.
Yeah.
That whether it's Andy or Bill or me or whoever else would be the next mayor to inherit. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Where you're going to walk in and you're going to have these things. I don't think that Brian is the only one you have an issue with, and I'm putting words into your mouth.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I think that's the most stark example.
I think you go in as a mayor and you set expectations of this is what I expect from each department head. This is what I expect from somebody who is over the museums or whatever. This is what I want to. These are expectations of the functions you will perform. If somebody falls within those expectations, then they stay there. If somebody is outside of those expectations, you address that behavior, remind them what the expectations are, and then they stay within what your expectations. So will Brian and all the department heads, it'll be clearly communicated, hey, as a mayor, this is what I expect from you. You have a chance, to meet those expectations. And I'm not going to walk in and just fire anybody outright.
But you'll at least check on them and
I think I want to. I want to intel. Of course, yeah. I mean, to see how they're doing. Of course, I'm the one who sets the expectations. No, and when I make hires,
you'd be willing
in
to
the
let
future,
people go if necessary.
absolutely. And
Okay.
again, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior.
Yeah.
There are people who I considered personal friends of mine who are no longer with the police department, and it killed me to make some of those decisions. I have badges that they turned in to me that are not trophies, but they are examples of my failures as a leader when I allowed them to do things that cost them their job. I mean, that's my responsibility to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. And when they did things outside of that ultimately led to them having to go be successful elsewhere, I should have done a better job of that. And those are constant reminders to me. And I know where those badges are right now of those men who were friends of mine, that when they fell outside of the expectations and were given opportunities, sometimes it's just you fall outside of, there's things that you do that there's no non-negotiable. You don't get to work here in that position after you do these things.
Yeah.
There are other times they fall outside of them. You as a manager of people, you fix that, address the issue, remind them what the expectations are, and you give them a chance to as a pattern of practice, fall within those, or you deal with them and you cut people loose. And I've done that in the past, and I would do that again in the future. That's part of making. It's part of being a leader in a large organization. You make tough decisions.
Well, I hope that if you do get elected, that you will hold department heads more accountable than they've been held.
All right, I'm gonna give you another quick. You use metaphor. I say an analogy. There's
Whatever works for you.
there's in the this is going to come out of left field.
Yeah.
In the Iditarod, you know, the dogs, the dog race in the Iditarod up in Alaska.
I've never heard that.
All right, so
Sled, is that
sledding.
racing?
It
Okay.
is the sled racing. It's the Iditarod. So you
All right.
have the lead dog in front. All right.
Yeah.
The next two, number 2 and 3, who are right behind that single lead dog, are called the swing dogs, and everybody, all the rest of them are called team dogs. All right.
Okay.
The swing dogs are the ones that all of the team members watch to see which way they're supposed to turn, right or left. The only one watching the leader are the 2 swing dogs, the number 2 and number 3. All the rest of them, they're watching those swing dogs. So you know what department heads are? The mayor is the leader, he's the lead dog. The department heads are those swing dogs. All the city employees are acting and following what their department heads, those swing dogs, if you will, with what they do. Are they on board? Are they pulling in the right direction? Are they pulling in the same direction? Everybody else goes along with them. The department head position is critical. All right, they've got to buy into what the mayor's doing. They got to support him. He has to support them. They have to work together to doing the right thing, pulling in the same direction. And if one of those swing dogs starts trying to turn right while everybody else is trying to turn left, boy, you give him an opportunity to start pulling left with everybody, and if he continues to try to pull in his own direction, then you make changes. And I think that happens at that's got to happen at the department head level, and I think it will.
Limited experience I've had of organizing people, it's controlled chaos a lot of times.
It is, but you rely on those department heads to buy in, and I think they rely on they want to have confidence and faith that
being on the same page is very important.
Yes, and they want to make sure that the leader's pulling in the right direction, taking them in the right place, and if they believe in that, they are critical because they are what the rest of the city and the city employees depend on.
Do you think Brian Murphy would be a good swing dog for you?
Well, so he, along with the others, will have to pull in the same direction, or they can be successful elsewhere. I mean, that's what you do.
I had to bring him up.
Well, I'm surprised you limited it to just him, but the same would apply across the board.
I'm not crazy about all of them, but if I had to put a spotlight, it's on him.
I got you. Yeah, and some of that may be personal, going back to 2020.
You know what? I'm not going to lie and say some of it isn't personal. I wouldn't put this much effort if it was just personal, dude. Okay. I generally do. I wouldn't put this much effort in doing all this if all this is personal. I got other things I enjoy doing better.
Gotcha.
But I actually do give a crap about the future of this city.
I appreciate that.
The personal thing, it helps motivate me, but it's not the reason. If I went out and like did a bunch of work every time someone offended me, I wouldn't have any life.
No, sure.
So that's my answer to that.
Right.
Some people I bring it up and they're like, "Well, you really got this personal vendetta." I was like, "No, he's a good example. Yeah, he did slight me. It takes more than that because there's lots of people that have slighted me."
Is there? And this isn't about you. I mean, I would want to go back and say what programs or what things has he done to implement that you've been unsatisfied with. I mean, I don't go and do a lot. I don't see a lot of what they've got going on. But I would want to ask you is, since he's been in that position, has it really just taken a left turn and now he's gone after initiatives that are contrary to who we are?
I would suggest just going to the Pope Tavern Museum and the Indian Mound Museum. Look at it and thinking about it in a propaganda aspect and come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, I've not done that. So
it's one of those things where I can't really spell it out to people, but if you know, sort of a thing. Is that?
Yeah. So you mean my family has my mother was a Kennedy maiden name, so there's a Kennedy long rifle at Pope's Tavern that should be on display there. I mean, it has used to be, and it was it was a Civil War era long rifle. I mean, so there's things that I would have expectations. Pope's Tavern is the Civil War era, had Union and Confederate both there, and I think it should reflect that history. All right, and I mean that's what happened there. That's the era that it's from. So I don't know what all's going on down there now.
Well, the Confederates were the ones that were living here, but
I think it served as as both as a hospital for both.
This is the South,
right? That's right.
This is the South. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we went off we chased the rabbit there.
All right. Nepotism. Seems like I gotta be careful here. As someone who's recently passed away. I don't want to slight too much, but what's the best way of putting this? Sorry. Someone proposed to me, I think it was a good idea, that would you be okay proposing a policy that department heads should not be, at the very least, department heads should not be related to any elected officials?
Boy, I'd have to look at that. Who came first? Was the department head in place before the elected official came in?
Yeah.
Did the department head get promoted after the fact?
Going forward. Perhaps.
So here's what I think you're going to find is, if I become the mayor, that I'm going to make decisions that I think are best, and people can try to influence that from the outside.
Are you going to hire a fireman, family member? I mean, sorry.
No. Look, no. Outside influences are always going to try to impact who you're hiring.
Yeah.
Some people are more susceptible to those outside influences than I'm going to be, and I'm going to look. There's not going to be a committee that comes together and tells me who all I need to hire. There's going to be I'm going to make the decision. If you're going to elect me to be the mayor, then the buck stops with me, right? So all the applications are going to come into me, and I'm going to look at those, and I'm going to interview those, and I'm going to select that person. I'm not going to rely on an outside entity to go, this is the guy we think you need to hire. I'm going to make that, and it's going to be, and then you hold me accountable whether you think I made the right decision or not based on the job that's done. So no, I don't think that the mayor should be hiring family members.
Do you think there's a problem with too many people being related to each other in government?
I think some of that's the
I mean, do you think some of small town?
Yeah, I think some of it is. I mean, you look at Trump. Did he?
Sometimes it's coincidence, but there's obvious possible conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
Right?
Did Trump bring in some of his family members to occupy different positions in the Republican Party? I'm not talking about him as a candidate. He did. So I think you see that happening in some places. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of. There will not be a family member of mine. Okay. My son's not going to be. My son's not going to be hired. I got one in Kansas City. I'd love to come back here. I've got a 17-year-old coming up. I'm not going to hire him as a department head. No, that's not going to happen.
Okay. All right.
If they are,
I think you know where I'm getting at in our history here.
I do, and I think some of that's small towns, but I think that's been you've had a leader who was influenced by outside sources because he wanted to be agreeable, and he just tried to keep people happy, and that's just not the way. I'm going to lead by putting.
Yeah, I think you answered my question right there.
I think I'm going to be the guy who makes the right decision based on the objective data.
Okay. It's already 12:52. Is there anything else you want to bring up before I bring up?
No, I know you have another topic that you want to talk about. You can jump right into it.
All right. I do not think we're going to get to settle, but I'm bringing it up initially.
If we run a few minutes over, it's okay.
All right. Cool. All right. In 2020, there was a lot of protests here.
Yeah. Across the country.
Across the country, and we had our own little drama here regarding Project Say Something.
19 weeks of it, if I remember saying it.
And I got involved, and other people kind of joined along with me, and there was other actors involved as well. Way too complicated to get into. I'm not sure how much information I really want to disclose of all of that stuff. There's a lot that went down. My main thing, and we went back and forth on Facebook on this, and for the most part, I kind of liked your take on it and stuff. But there's one thing that kind of that bothered me. It was you seemed like you were like you gave I guess on paper the best answer.
You felt like I was too political in my answer.
Yeah. Like you said, listen, I want to defend the people's freedom of expression and also address public safety, which that is, as the police chief, the correct freaking answer that won't get you sued.
Right. Yeah. But is it not?
You're not the police chief.
But is it not the correct answer though? Okay, go ahead. All right.
Yes, but how it was, there was some problems I had with it, especially with me personally involved. I'm just gonna put this book away on this.
Yeah.
I don't need this book on this. The first initial issue, as far as you concerned, the police, is I was carded twice. At the first protest that they had, I think some of those people there reported some suspicious-looking guy, maybe had a bomb or something. I think they
your backpack, Dave.
Yeah.
People worried about you with a backpack.
I think what happened was, I'll tell you right now, there's some people that knew my political leanings and wanted to kind of chase me off. And immediately a cop came up to me, pulled me to the side, carded me, checked my stuff, I'm like, I've got nothing to hide. I got no warrants. I'm like, whatever. But I couldn't help but notice no one else was being carded. And at no time during, I went out there dozens of times. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but from my observation, I don't think the police really even questioned, carded, or any of this, left those protesters just kind of do what they want, which is like whatever. But like, it seemed like it was a double standard with me. And then I got carded a second time. I went down to, after, this was back in early 2021, I believe, me and someone else, I think you know, Glenn Foster, went protested at Pope's Tavern. We was quietly standing there with signs on the public sidewalk. Wasn't yelling or nothing. Police pulled up there, asked us what we're doing there, carded us. Of course, I'm sure he did another background check on me and stuff. I got nothing to hide, that's fine. My issue was, y'all did not do that with Project Say Something, not once. Which I think I know why that is so. I think because the SPLC is not going to sue you for like a right wing guy like me getting carded, like whatever. And I think the reason you were hands off with them is you were worried about getting entangled with SPLC, like anti-white organizations like SPLC, getting entangled with them. I just want you to admit that.
Yeah, you think I was scared of a lawsuit. You know how many times I was sued as chief of police? I cannot count them. Okay?
Personally sued, or your
I've been named personally in several of them. The department's been sued, so lawsuits don't worry me, David. They never did. Okay, I mean it was never a
or even like political fallout from being labeled
and I don't want to get into you too personally.
You see the point I'm making?
Yeah, but I know you in 2024. Yeah. We didn't know you in 2020.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I don't know when you moved here. I'm not going to ask you to say that out loud. Nobody knew who you were. We knew you were at a public protest with a backpack. It wasn't just us. The other people there didn't know who you were. And when people
not making any noise, not talking to
when
anyone.
people call and go, "Hey, this guy's suspicious. He's carrying a backpack," whatever.
So if I did the same thing to them, you would have carded all of them?
Absolutely. But there were times, and you said we didn't card anybody else. There were times that. I mean, I knew who Camille was. I knew who Brian was. I knew who.
I'm pretty sure if you carded a lot of them, some of them probably had.
Some of them came over from Huntsville.
Yeah.
But we're not going to card all of them. I mean, if there had been individuals that were picked out, and there were, and we had police officers around who were going, "Hey, see this person? Look at them. There's something about their behavior that we would want to say. Hey, we want to find out who you are."
Yeah.
Okay, and so we did that. But boy, you're talking about. We're still talking about things that happened 4 years ago. One more quick illustration, and I told you the time we're good if we run over.
Yeah.
There's an old story from I don't know the old days in Europe, medieval times.
Yeah,
so there's
Proverbs
this
or something.
Yeah, that's right. There's an old farmer and a wife riding on a wagon, and I tell stories because that's how I make a point. And they came up on. This I don't know, it's a little store doing business, and they see this young nobleman, a young boy of
good means.
Your good means is there, and he is yelling at his servants because there's mud between his wagon where he is and where the store he wants to go to. He's screaming at them of, "Hey, I'm gonna get muddy," and there's all sorts of loud noises. This farmer and this old lady go up, and the old lady tells her husband to stop, and they pull up next to her. The old lady gets off of the wagon, and she walks over to where the young boy is. She takes her cloak off that they wore back then. She lays it down over the mud, picks the young boy up, carries him across, sets him down over there, and he walks inside. She gets her cloak, throws it in the back of the wagon, gets on it, tells her husband, "Hey, let's move on." 2 miles down the road, the husband has finally said, "Why in the world did you get your cloak dirty for that young brat who's acting that way?" And the wife looks at the farmer and says, "Honey, I put that young boy down 2 miles ago. Why are you still carrying him now?" The message was, that happened a long time ago. Why still carrying the burden and still worrying about that? You're worried about future behavior, but I guess I would say that, Dave, that stuff happened in 2020, and that was in this country's history.
That was not the first year this country had a riot.
It wasn't, but it was one of those. I mean, it was a year full, 19 weeks of that.
Yeah.
Is there a right or wrong answer to how you're supposed to deal with
You don't
protest?
have to give me a perfect answer. You could just.
There's not one. My point is there's not a right or wrong. There's 29 years. I had a master's degree in criminal justice. I've attended the FBI National Academy. I attended multiple different trainings from the FBI. At no point did anybody sit down and give me a rule book of when you have 19 weeks of protest and you have to have
I'm not
unbudgeted.
I'm going to have to interrupt you.
No. I'm just, here's how you run those things. We were trying to figure that out on the fly.
I'm not trying to deny. I sympathize. I don't know. I do think your hands were tied. I
don't know if they were tied. We were trying to manage
nationwide. Cops were standing down while watching police cars being set up. We all saw.
We weren't going to do that.
Well, I'm just saying they couldn't. Not yet. Maybe 20 years down the line, with pushing the envelope. And stuff.
So when we implemented those restrictions, it was not a no protest zone. It was a zero tolerance zone.
Yeah.
So I don't like how they've characterized that. It was on the heels of two couples from Fayetteville, Tennessee, who came to eat at Riccatoni's, who almost got into a fist fight with some protesters. These were people during COVID, by the way, who came from Fayetteville to meet friends, to go out to eat at Riccatoni's, minding their own business, and almost wind up in a fist fight with some of the protesters because all they wanted to do was come down here and have a nice dinner with friends at a rare time. We were not going to let those protests continue to escalate, and that's why I sat down with a zero tolerance. And we told them, you want to stay and make as much noise as you want, stay down there near the statue. That's the thing you're protesting. You can make as much noise as you want. When you cross north of Tennessee Street, that's when we're not going to have any tolerance for people picking a fight, making unreasonable noise. It's not a city noise ordinance, by the way. That was a state law. Disorderly conduct says you can't make unreasonable noise. They did. That's what we told them.
They had megaphones. It was unreasonable.
Yeah, they didn't.
I think they abused the.
Their gripe was with the state law that we quoted to them. It was not the city noise ordinance, although they sued us for the noise ordinance, and we rewrote it, and that's what came out of it. They didn't go and address the state. The state code for disorderly conduct still says you can't make unreasonable noise or you can be arrested for it. So we told them, you get north of Tennessee Street, we're going to have zero tolerance for unreasonable noise. Now, if you'll notice, when they came across Tennessee Street, they didn't use the megaphones. They used those south of Tennessee Street on Court. They stayed on the corner over there and made it. So we were just trying to find the middle ground, thread the needle, if you will, to allow other counter-protesters to be there and protest against what they were doing and allow them to protest for what they were. And there's not an easy way to do that. So we weren't trying to avoid any lawsuit.
I'm not saying it was easy. And
we weren't trying to avoid a lawsuit. We wasn't trying to be politically correct.
By design, that whole thing was, I mean, everyone was wearing masks. It was
for
nuts.
COVID. It was
well,
nuts.
the COVID was the excuse for them being outside. They just didn't want to show their identity and
the mask and all of that.
The riots wouldn't have been half as bad if there wasn't masks in place. I'll tell you that much right now.
you say riots across the country, right? I mean, we just had the protest here.
Yeah, that's cross country, but I'm saying that was they were invoking the same slogans here. I'm not saying what happened today, but this is how this starts.
Yeah, well, and it's we weren't worried about lawsuits. I can look you in the eye and tell you, I have never feared one of those. That's not been an issue for me. No, not when you're trying to. Not when you're taking the information, trying to make the best decision that you can.
You shouldn't be fearful and a coward, but you should definitely take them into consideration because there ain't nothing.
You do the right thing. You follow the law. If that comes up, those are expected as a chief of police. They'll be expected as a mayor. It's not something.
Well, I hope in the future, next time a group of people come and deface that statue, that you will stop them or at least get some consequences for it. Afterwards, one person.
That's right.
Did.
We did talk about the chalk on there that you didn't like. That's right. I remember that from Facebook now.
I gave the analogy. If I walk up to the statue at the police station, can I go up there right now with some chalk and say "police suck" all over the police statue? What would happen?
So there's a term that we use in law enforcement.
You gave an
I'm retired.
That you can be as arbitrary as you want to be.
No, we talk about totality of the circumstances.
Yeah.
That's a phrase that we use. We take the entire set of circumstances into account when we decide what we're going to do. If you went up there right now, you would just be a dude going up there to write on the statue up there. All right? I mean, that's what the circumstances would be. You have to go back and look at the public protest about the statue. You have to take all that into account. Then you had to, is that our statue? Is that the county statue? We had all of that stuff that was in play there. You have to consider all those facts when you try and make a decision. Now, understand, we all knew it was chalk. All right? Me and Rick and the sheriff's office, we knew it was chalk at the time. It wasn't paint like what happened in Madison County.
Or here.
But they didn't use paint here. They used chalk here, right?
No, later on there was one lone crazy person that painted. Yeah, he threw a bucket of paint. He went to jail though.
Okay, so there you go.
He was a white kid though. So.
But you look at Madison County, and we'll wrap it up with this. Tommy Battle did that. He didn't act on the statue over there. The county commission did. Okay, Dale Strong. Do you know who Dale Strong is now? You know what he serves at now? Dale Strong is a U.S. representative. Okay, when Dale Strong was a county the commission chair of Madison County, you know what he did? He took their statue from their courthouse and he moved it to the cemetery over there after it had been painted. Huntsville hasn't collapsed. You know, it's just Dale Strong wasn't decided to be the worst thing to ever come out of Huntsville, Madison County. They elected him to state representative over there. And you know what's, and I'm making a point here. You know what's happened in Huntsville with that statue? Everybody's moved on from 2020 and nobody goes back and thinks, look at what's happened in Huntsville. That was the worst thing that changed history because they moved the statue. They moved on.
That's oversimplified way of putting that. I mean, I'd really have to explain the nature of why they were knocking down those statues and stuff.
And I get that, and I would be
going into some rabbit holes.
And I'd be 100% opposed to anybody destroying those statues.
Ultimately, I think the police didn't care about the statue, but cared about the statue. Would care about the statue on their own property because they would take that personally. I mean,
we had to try to follow what the law was,
yeah,
David, and we were trying to just make very difficult decisions in how we managed that. And we tried to, again, consider the totality of the circumstances, make the best decision that we could. And at the end of it, you were able to counter-protest. They were able to protest. They sued us federally on two issues, our noise ordinance and our parade permit. And you know what? We rewrote the parade permit. We rewrote the noise ordinance. Nobody really, their life hadn't changed. Nobody didn't change much for us. It hasn't changed much for them, and we've all moved on. 19 weeks of protest.
We all.
Has your life been negatively impacted by that?
Well, I mean, has your life been negatively impacted you not being mayor? I mean,
We've all moved on from that.
There's things I do for myself, and there's things I do for society.
Okay.
You know, and that would have to be a whole other interview to get. For the reason why this stuff's important to me, that's a whole other.
I got you.
I don't even have time to even begin that.
I feel like at the end of 19 weeks, everybody came and were able to do what they wanted to do and set out to do. And as a result,
19 weeks, 200 years, these issues have been going on for a while.
They have, don't you? They'll come back up again. I mean, we're a fallen world that we're going to deal with something else.
I'm saying it's not as you were trying to say. It's over. It's done. You know, like this is our country.
That issue was from 2020. I mean, there will be something with a different set of circumstances that comes up next. And the way I'll address that is the same way we addressed it before. Is we try to look at all the facts, gather all the information, figure out what we can. We met with them privately to say, here's what the instructions are going to be, here's what the rules are going to be. Hey, y'all have exceeded those. You had some people back off. We tried to help do some of that stuff. I never met with you during that time. I don't know if I knew you at that time.
I just moved back. Full disclosure, I moved back to this town in 2019. I grew up here.
So I don't think anybody knew who you were. We just knew you were a guy with a black backpack in there, and I think everybody was suspicious of you.
You guys weren't. No one expect. Anyway,
you're right.
No one expected me. You know,
we'll just
we'll end that subject right now. But I want to tie up the interview.
Sure.
Thanks for coming out.
Of course.
You know, so far I don't think Betterton would ever sit down and have a talk with me like this. So I mean, I don't know. He could prove me wrong.
Yeah. Why would anybody be hesitant to come down and sit with you or anybody else and just have a conversation? You know, I mean, someone could say they don't have time. I obviously, couldn't say I didn't have time. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why anybody would be scared of sitting down with somebody. There's things, there's things that you do that are important to you that are non-essential stuff to me. I remember watching you at
vice versa.
Yeah, right. And for different reasons. Yeah. I remember watching a planning commission meeting, and you made an issue out of it's like 109 South Pine Street, where they gave the wrong address there. I was like some of those other people. I was like, what's he talking about? Hey, I get it, but everybody knows where the auditorium is. That was a non-essential. To me, on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance, it was important enough for you to bring up and want to talk about. To me, it was a 1. I was like, boy, everybody, it just wasn't a big deal. So, I mean,
just as an example of just how much effort was put into people being able to locate. Obviously, it was low. Obviously, you said it's a 1, so it's a 1 whether or not people know where to go or not. And
I think most people do
it's
from
also
the small town.
See, that's an assumption. That's an assumption.
It is.
Maybe I'm getting used to being I grew up here, but I lived in a big city for many years. So maybe I'm getting reacclimated to the small town attitude. Maybe not everyone knows You know,
You know what? Guilty of making that assumption. You're right, because
Yeah.
I just City Hall to me is just City Hall.
I think if you're in any kind of like government position, I think just being precise is very important.
There's no doubt. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And let's get things accurate for
If
sure.
you're going to do things, do it right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to die on that hill. You know, I probably.
I'm not
wouldn't
going to
have
down that hill. I'm not out there protesting. You got the address wrong. I thought of it. I wanted to bring it up, and apparently people thought I was ranting about it. And enough for you to even remember.
Well, no, I do. I remember that. And I thought, boy, it would not. I mean, that was on your radar. Wasn't even on mine. It wouldn't have been had I seen that. I probably would not have thought, well, they've missed the address here. So,
Yeah.
but it's my point in all that was I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to sit down and meet with you and have a conversation with you, talk about what especially if someone's running for mayor. Why do I think I need to be the next one, and why I think I'm? I mean, if somebody is
The more people hear you talk, the more people get to know you. I feel like for democracy to
with that.
work, we need an informed public. So let's get to know our leaders or prospective leaders. Let's get to know them because you're spending our money.
and I don't mind you disagreeing with things that I do, and I mean that's just the reality of it. I mean sometimes you just
we're two different people,
and we're gonna think that this is. I may think this is the right way, and you think that's the right way, and then at the end of it, one of us just got to make a call. But I'm gonna hear you out.
I try not to put too much of my opinion in here because I'm not the one running for mayor.
Right.
So
I appreciate that.
But
thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Did you enjoy the coffee?
It was good coffee. Thank you very
I
much.
don't believe in sweet coffee.
It got cold after a while, but it's gone. I mean, so thank you for that. Look, I didn't know what to expect coming and meeting with you, David.
Yeah.
You far exceeded expectations for sure.
I'm not used to interviewing people. Did I do okay?
Yeah, I think you did great. So
let's call the end of interview right now.
Perfect.
If you guys want more of this, I don't know, send someone else my way. Take it easy.
Coffee and Carson.
I'm gonna cut it right there.
Do it.